Welcome to the CoreWalking podcast, a step in the right direction. I'm Alex Bamelon,
And I'm Jonathan Fitzgordon.
and we're back here again to talk about more topics that interest us and hopefully interest you guys as well. It's been a little bit of a break, and we're just going to try to make these happen once every month, generally on the first of the month. So please stay tuned. In the meantime, Jonathan, how have you been?
Oh, I've been really well, Alex. I got nothing to complain about. It was a beautiful summer here. Summer's just starting to end, but we're still in the 70s and it's about to be October, and been biking and doing yoga. And today's topic is going to be kettlebells. I've been doing lots of Turkish get-ups, my new favorite
Oh,
exercise.
yeah.
In the middle of a teacher training. Everything is really good. How about yourself?
Are you're doing a teacher training?
Yeah, we just hit the middle mark. 12
Oh,
weeks. We just
for the
finished.
rejuvenation method?
What's that?
Via the rejuvenation
No,
method.
no, yoga, straight up 200-hour yoga teacher training.
Oh, cool.
But I teach everything in it. It's posture and walking and a
Yeah.
lot of anatomy, and
Yes. I
but really
remember.
great group of people, like all adults, not a lot of neuroses. Really, it's been really fun.
That's fun. I wish I could have followed it, but I've been busy myself, so trying to learn about kettlebells as well.
Yeah, but you're working a lot, right? Seeing
I
a lot
work
of
a lot.
clients,
I'm sorry.
seeing a lot of clients.
Yeah, I work a lot. I have a lot of clients at Crunch. And it's been rewarding because I think we're doing good work together, me and them individually, obviously. But yeah, I've been incorporating kettlebells into my routines because I have a couple of my coworkers are kettlebell certified, and so I became interested in them because I think they combine the two things that interest me, which is strength and mobility. And I did yoga because I was interested in mobility and flexibility and just kind of finding more range in my joints and just healing them that way, which I realize is maybe wasn't it's not the end all be all, yoga, but it's great. And I've continued to do it, obviously, maybe with a little less frequency because I'm much busier and I miss it. I was going to go this weekend, but then I got lazy because it was raining all weekend. And I find kettlebells like to actually be like when you're talking about doing a bunch of Turkish get-ups. I mean, I find the Turkish get-up to be a really powerful exercise. If I do like 5 in a row, I'm kind of smoked, man. I mean, depending on how big the kettlebell is that you're holding above your head, but even so, just going through that movement of like, it engages your core, you get glute workout in there. Obviously, you get the shoulder stability aspect, you get a little bit of hip hinging, so it really incorporates everything. And I find those to be, if I'm like kind of pressed for time, I don't have a ton of time to work out. I find that I can do 3 to 5, you know, Turkish get ups on each side, and I'm feeling worked out, depending on the size of the bell, But I have a 15 and a 35 pounder, and with the 15, I can kind of cruise through it, but with the 35, I've rarely used, to be honest. I usually try to find a 25, and that's what that's my go-to.
Yeah, so what just about yoga, like to me, yoga remains an absolutely essential part of my anti-aging routine. Like my joints are too loose compared to
Yeah.
yours, right? My story is too loose joints, but I couldn't live without yoga, but I don't do it like in my 30s when I was doing Ashtanga 6 days a week. That's not my yoga practice anymore, though I miss it. And I've been talking a lot about it in the teacher training, how there's a certain genius to yoga, to Ashtanga yoga in particular, that it just will open up your whole body, like every single joint and muscle for range of motion, for a different kind of strength than kettlebells. So I still just love it so much. But I resisted weights for years and years and years. My wife got involved in a weight training program for menopause.
Hmm.
And, I finally started to give in. So I said, all right, I'm going to get a kettlebell. And you go online and you Google like, what should I get for a kettlebell? What's a starter kettlebell? Kettlebell. And everything you read is like men 30, women 20, or women 15. So, like a good dog that I am, they tell me to buy a 30. I bought a 30, and I was like, are you kidding me? And I'm not weak, but like 30-pound kettlebell is just kind of fierce, So I can do a lot of things. Like I do goblet squats with the 30,
Hmm.
and I could do pretty much all of the exercises, like the classic kettlebells, the swings and the cleans, and I can do those with 30. They're not easy. But when I got into Turkish get-ups, it was immediately clear, like there was no way I'm doing these with the 30-pound kettlebell. So I started on with dumbbells.
Yeah, that's fine too.
I literally started at 10 pounds. I do sets of five. So I started at 10 pounds. Then I would do three with 10 and two with the 15. And that's all I have for dumbbells is 10 and 15 and like
Mhm.
fives from my father. So then I bought a 20-pound kettlebell. And, I was able to do it, but it took me a couple of months actually to get facility with the 20. Thought I can go on to the 30. Did my first, I couldn't literally, like, I'm a lefty. So I was able to do like one with the 30. And on the right side, my arm just collapsed, like my
Yeah.
elbow buckled. Like there was no way. So I bought a 25. That's what I'm up to
You have
now.
like a whole set of kettlebells now.
I have a 20, 25, and 30.
That's
And
funny.
I'm doing the 25 now.
Great.
Um, with the goal to get to the 30. And now I can do that set of five with the 25. And the right side, one of the things I love most about kettlebells is I really do believe it's going to bring balance to my less dominant side
For sure.
because I'm really just working it. And it's really that much harder I'm a lefty. It's that much harder on my right side, but it's getting there. So that's where I'm at these days. 25-pound kettlebells. And my routine is I do the set of five, and then I do goblet squats with the 30. And
Mhm.
yeah, just like you said, I think kettlebell is a full body workout. There are moments in it that I find harder than others, and I've been teaching that I am not kettlebell certified, but I've been
Me
encouraging
neither.
my clients to do them. And we'll put up a video on the show page, and if you want, I can do one, or you can do one, uh, just to get a sense of it. I find two moments to be really difficult and really important, and one is that the swinging the leg back, pulling the the straight leg back to come
Mhm.
onto your knee. And what I find really interesting is for me, I'm working to lift everything up in one solid piece, right? Hip and foot up and swing it back off the ground. And I
Uh-huh.
have found that people actually have a lot of trouble with that. And I want that lead foot to be up all the way back. And then, so I think that's a kind of complicated, difficult action for people. And then the movement to stand. And that movement to stand is also a pretty deep action. But to me, that is like when we talk about anti-aging, that is that is the deal. So should I do one? So if we're gonna put up the video, people can see it on video.
Sure.
All right.
You can do one and I'll comment. I'll tell you if you
Excellent. Excellent.
I'm actually gonna
So I'll do
like
my
put you in a
25. I'll embarrass myself. I get such interesting feedback. So you'll tell me, I start on my side,
Mhm.
and a lot of people, and I just followed a video on YouTube about how to do them. So I start on my side, and that's how I do it. I'm just going to do one. I'm not going to do a set. So I start here, and I can't start with the kettlebell on my wrist like that. So with support. I start here. I come onto my back.
Mm-hmm.
I straighten, and I'm paying a lot of attention to trying to keep that wrist straight.
Yep. So
And that
I'm gonna correct
right arm
something
and
right now.
right leg out, right?
Right now, just bring your hand more into like the horn of the kettlebell. So instead of holding it kind of the middle of the, yeah, there you go. And then punch it. Make sure you keep punching up. Good.
And then up on my elbow,
Great.
onto the hand.
Perfect.
And then this is the motion I'm talking about to try to get everything up.
Oh, you're like lifting your leg up. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I think is really important, actually. And then that swivel, and then forward to come up.
Yep.
A lot of people have trouble coming forward to get up, and then in reverse.
Looks great, man.
So we'll leave it at that. I'm not going to do my right side.
No, that looked really solid.
So
The only thing is like, yeah, just hold the kettlebell in the horn instead of holding it. And it just makes it a little more steady.
no question about it. I have to say it. There's a measure of it can hurt, like the weight on the
Yeah.
forearm, but I think that's good work. So what do you think about that lift of the leg and pulling it back?
Yeah, I'm gonna do one too because now you've got me. Now it is. I'll do one without the bell because I don't have the bell. By the way, this can be done without. Can you see me or no?
Yes.
This can be done without a bell, right? And it's just this. Then it becomes more about mobility. But you just plug in your shoulder, and then yeah, you'll come up and make sure you're turning. Bring your hand up, and then yeah, bring that leg back like that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
killer.
but a lot of people like swing the leg and scrape the floor because they don't have the hip mobility to do that. And keeping the arm, especially while keeping the arm straight up, right? So you're supposed to be looking at your hand so that your arm isn't going all over the damn place.
Oh, interesting.
And then you lift up, that's your core into your hip, right? Hip mobility, turn, push,
Beautiful.
flip. Then you can always follow your hand can follow your thigh, so you go
Oh,
straight,
nice.
right? Then you can sit back into your hip a little bit. Then you get a bit of hip mobility, which you don't need, but a lot of people do. And then, yeah, it's that kicking the leg out, making sure you keep this leg's heel on the ground, then come to the side. And then that's your core when you're letting yourself come down real slow.
Nicely done. Yeah, no, I just got a
Right.
couple of really good tips from that. That's really
I'm
great.
sorry.
I just got a couple of really good tips. I don't actually look up at the kettlebell, and I think that would be really helpful.
Yeah, because then it keeps your arm from going like that. Yours was solid though. But from what I saw, I couldn't see it wavering too much. So
Yeah, no, it feels really solid on my left. So that's an
yeah.
interesting thing about because I can just be really picky, not in the nicest way. Um, but I teach people with a block, balance the block on your hand before you go to
Yes,
weight, right?
100%.
So
You can do that with a block or with a like a those slider things, the slider
yeah,
thing.
like on YouTube and stuff, people do it with a sneaker, like to balance a sneaker, which I think
Yeah.
is so yeah, I feel like for whatever it's worth, for me, it's important to get that heel, that foot up off the floor and swing it back. And I feel like that's actually a difficult action. Do you know like
It just certainly
animal
adds to it.
exercises?
I'm sorry.
Like animal exercises, the crawling
Oh
and
yeah, the animal flow. Yeah.
yeah, so I do that a little bit, and that's where I got that idea from. Like it's a lot of power to pull that leg up and pull the whole thing through and pull the whole
Sure.
thing back through.
Yeah,
But
then
I'm really
you're
picky
getting a
about
little bit
that.
more like, that side glute action from that.
Yeah, so traditionally people are going to slide the foot more.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
what
a lot of people slide the foot because it's hard to lift your leg up. That's just not easy. And also a lot of people don't have perhaps the hip openness that you have, and it makes it a little bit harder to bring that leg back, right? So I have a client who's I've been teaching her kettlebell swings. She's really good at them actually, and she's like you. She's kind of hyper mobile. And it's been really good for her, I think, and she's like, yeah, it's weird, like sometimes the back of my legs are sore, and that never used to happen before. And I'm like, oh, because
That's
what about your
great.
legs and your hamstrings so that you're not completely loosey goosey, because she's a lot younger than either of us, and I don't want her to blow out her knee. Like I think I keep like your story in the back of my head. I haven't told her about it, but I'm like, this is definitely something that you should be conscious of, and you want to keep building, continue to work out, right? Because she's like,
That's great. Let me ask you something about the
a trainer's
kettlebell
not
swing.
inexpensive, and she's like, oh, I might need to take a break, and I'm like, just don't stop coming.
Right, totally. Um, the thing I don't love about the kettlebell swing is they finish by locking or snapping the hips forward.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't teach that. I don't teach that in yoga. I don't teach that in posture, like, and it's really hard. Like I've watched a number of, that's how I learn. I go to YouTube or TikTok and I watch videos. And
Yeah,
there's very few people, and these people are impressive, man. Like there are these people out there that are just stunning to watch. Um, I find it amusing because most of the men don't wear a shirt, but they all snap their hips forward and kind of lock the tuck under and jam the thighs forward to finish the swing. Like,
yeah,
is that what you teach?
that
That's
is
pretty standard, right?
that's the way you're supposed to do it, and then pull your shoulders down and engage the lats.
I don't love that. Like I see a lot of them, they lock their knees when they do it.
You're
And and
not, you shouldn't lock your knees.
and so what's the value of that thrust into the hip flexor? Like
That's
that
just a whole posterior chain um engagement, so that you keep from rolling back. And what happens a lot of times, that people, if you don't tell them to do that and engage their glutes and engage their lats, they'll lean back into it, especially as the belly gets heavier, especially if their arms are straight, right? So you want to keep those T-Rex arms and keep the arms really squeezed against the armpits, right? And then tucking under is just all about, getting the glutes engaged and keeping from like sending like leaning back. And I see people doing kettlebell swings in the gym all the time. And, there's two different types of kettlebell swings. There's the Russian kettlebell swings, and then there's one called American kettlebell swings, which are, you know, whatever. People do whatever they want. I wouldn't personally teach them, because that's like bringing the kettlebell over your head, which I think is intense and maybe a little bit insane, because that's really not great for your back. Like I think that's an easy way to really throw your back out.
and the
But
Russian one is more like you snap the
yeah, so
forearm
like
straight.
the Russian is okay. I'm gonna get my kettlebell. Hold on, hold. Okay, I get the baby one and the big one. So you're supposed to start with the kettlebell here, right? I think like the issue is, so you saw my arms were like T-Rex, and they're not all the way out, because then you're rounding forward. And you don't want that. You really want to be engaging your lats when you're doing a kettlebell swing.
So that's really interesting. I do them really differently. My wife tells me I don't do them right, but my elbows, I do it very similar, but my elbows are 6 inches away from my side. But I
Yeah,
feel
that's
like
fine too.
yeah, I feel like I'm engaging my lats. It
Yeah.
strikes me as like counterintuitive that I think like the tuck under and the thrust in the hip pulls you backwards. Um,
I
and
think the
it's just
idea is like you really want to engage your whole back, right?
got it. Yeah. It's such so interesting because it's not like, I'm so anti tucking the pelvis, but it's not like I'm not teaching people to walk by tucking your pelvis, and I'm teaching cat and cow in a majority of my yoga classes. Like cat and cow is moving through your spine and tucking your pelvis and walking.
Yeah.
Every step you take when you walk, you're tilting and rotating your pelvis. So it's not like I'm saying the body shouldn't do that. I tend not to teach that in exercise, and I have to play with it more because like when I see it on the video of people doing it, I'm like, oh, that just looks bad for me. And I feel like in life everyone is overloading rectus femoris, that quad tendon, and to me that just does that. Like that finishing the swing with the thighs jamming forward like that goes right into rectus femoris. The thing is, I know from watching that is just the standard way, and it's a power. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you
It's
don't
a
want to be like doing that, right? It's this.
same
Yeah,
thing
I
to me.
understand what you're saying.
Yes.
I
Um,
understand what you're saying.
it's I work with some power lifters, and it's a similar thing. Like they won't get the light to turn on if they don't thrust their hips forward, if they don't pull under. Like, so
Yeah,
you can't tell them not to do it, even though from my perspective, I wish they didn't. And maybe I'm wrong. I'm all down with being wrong. It's been the most fun of teacher training is like trying to convince people, don't think I'm right. I'm just very confident. But like you have opinions, you have beliefs.
right.
Um, but I think that the swing is this powerful exercise as well.
It is. And I will say this is that I had a client, and this was actually over a year ago, so quite a while back, who was um I re-taught him to do swings because he just did swings by watching other people, and he was like, wow, that's the first time that my back hasn't hurt doing swings. And I was like, if your back was
Great.
hurting doing swings, what the fuck were you doing swings for? Like it's just that just can't be that good. He's a tall dude, like 6'5", like maybe 230, 240. So big dude. Like, he used to play football in high school, so he's just a big guy. Um, and you know, he's for what it's worth, like teaching him what I just showed you made his back pain go away. So
That's great.
it was kind of surprising to me in the same way that you're conceptually what you're explaining. However, it works. Like I think that's the bottom line, and I've since perfected kind of my technique because again that was like a while ago. So I'm always looking to find little tricks. So here's a trick for like if people aren't keeping their armpits sealed shut, you put little towels under here and make
Oh,
sure that
great.
they're not falling out and if they fall, then you're rounding forward, right? So the other thing is break the kettlebell handle in half. So that's how to get the engagement, right? Like if you're breaking a twig, you have to engage your lats.
Oh,
So
that's great.
there's like a
You
few
know,
little things like that you can use. And then always make sure, obviously, that you're pressing into the mound of your big toe, which is definitely a Jonathan Fitzgordon thing, right?
it is all about the big toe.
And people roll back on their heels, so you really have to pay attention to that. They roll back on their heels or they roll to the outside of their feet.
Well, that's another thing that's kind of comedy for me is I don't do anything with shoes on.
Mm,
So most people, like when I'm watching these, they're all in sneakers. Like there are
yep.
very few people doing this stuff barefoot. I did a kettlebell, an online workshop. Someone gifted me a workshop with this, I don't even know, but supposedly really famous Russian guy,
Mhm.
the father of kettlebells, something to that effect. And there are 50 people on the call, and me and one other person, this other woman, were the only people barefoot.
Yeah.
And for me, like it's all about the big toe, and it's so much easier to find the big toe when you're not wearing shoes, right? Like it's just it's so wild. I have a client who we just started working together, and like 2 months ago, she was given orthotics. And I don't like orthotics, even though they help some people and they're good for some people. But we did all these experiments, and with the orthotic in her shoe, she can't get to the big toe. Like the orthotic just keeps her out of her inner foot for whatever reason and whatever the design.
Yeah,
And
that makes sense.
you take out the orthotic and all of a sudden there's your inner foot.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know why they would do that. That doesn't make any sense.
So at
I think for people,
crunch,
does she have flat feet?
when I look, I don't think so, but I think so many people are told they have flat feet who don't have flat feet. So like that's all that kind of weird stuff. Like my love for podiatrists has gone down quite a bit in the last few years, like I don't know that they're steering people well. I had another client who I don't know if it was a podiatrist or physical therapist, but said, you have to use your heels when you're walking upstairs. And I didn't know that so she's talking to me about
What
stairs.
exactly does that mean? I don't understand.
So you have to use your whole foot.
Oh yeah,
And so we're talking, I didn't know that yet, but we're talking and I'm like, new you is about getting to the midline. Walking through the inner foot is about getting to the midline. And then she said something about stairs. She goes, "Oh yeah, I can feel it. Like my legs are coming closer together when I'm going upstairs." And I said, when I go upstairs, my heels don't touch the stair. I'm all on the balls of my feet.
yeah,
And she said, "Oh my God, this person told me never to do that, to use the whole foot." Everyone's got opinions, and that's what I try to tell everyone I work with. Like, don't believe me. Like, try it and see if it makes sense. I'm always trying to get people to run in minimal shoes. You
yeah.
don't have to run barefoot, but less cushion, the better. And I did this, someone sent me their video. I'll actually ask them if maybe I could use it. She's a performance athlete, like she's an ex-performance athlete,
Hmm.
sprinter. And so she sent me the video of running in shoes and barefoot, like shoes and socks out on the street. And I was able to put them one on top of the other when I edited them together. It is unbelievable. Like she's running fine in shoes. Like she's good runner. But the minute she took her shoes off, I described it as like she's like a gazelle. She has spring in her run
Yeah.
that you see where she comes off the big toe in a way that is faster and brighter and much more power. And it's just a crazy thing, to use the body as designed might seem obvious, but it's not, So when you're at crunch, right, everyone's in sneakers. You can't have people barefoot,
I
right?
put people in their socks, yeah, sometimes. Like a
Got
lot,
it.
actually.
I always wondered if it's like a liability thing where like you have to wear sneakers in the gym.
I wouldn't put them barefoot just because athlete's foot and all that crap. But a lot of people have
Right.
obviously, do you mind being barefoot to do this? Because in your shoes, it's absorbing too much, right? And the kettlebell swing is actually one that I really do try to encourage people to take off their shoes. But I also don't. Some people don't want to take off their shoes. I'm not going to make them do it. You know what I mean? But when they do, I think they benefit from it just because of that. It's so much more stable, right? Like
So,
because everybody wears like even training shoes or like running shoes. The only people who like I don't make them take their shoes off is people wearing barefoot shoes. Like either the
oh,
Vivo
totally, totally.
Merrells are your favorites. I have a pair of what's the other one? Zero shoes.
Yeah.
I have a pair of Flux, which I highly recommend to anybody who wants to try barefoot shoes with a little bit because they have a little bit of a sole, you know what I mean, and they're actually kind of stylish. Um,
Flux as in Flux.
yeah, FLUX.
FL
Love
what?
my Fluxes. Love them.
Wait, FLEX or FLUX?
FLU Flux, like
Oh, I'll
flux
definitely check them
capacitor.
out. What's
They're really good,
interesting,
like the barefoot ones, because the training shoes, because they have runners as well that are like zero drop, but they have a padding, So just check out the training shoes.
one interesting thing about shoes, because right, I'm always trying to get people out of shoes. I work with people who wear Hokas, which
Yeah,
I find to be repulsive. Like maximalist shoes are not my thing.
yeah.
But when I meet somebody who says, I used to run 10 miles a day, hurt my knee, couldn't run 5 years later, someone turns me onto Hoka's and now I'm running with no pain. I'm not going to tell them to get rid of their maximalist shoes.
Right.
I'm going to say maybe over the course of the next year, you could start wearing less maximal shoes. And if we learn new technique, you can get into regular shoes and maybe even minimal shoes, right? So I'm not trying to say I tell everyone just throw out your shoes and go barefoot. I just think it's just better if you can.
Yeah.
And when exercising, it's one of the great things about, there are so many great things about yoga, but the fact that you're doing it barefoot is as good as any other benefit you get. Like we should be doing more things barefoot. And to me, my barefoot shoes are pretty darn barefoot. When I'm hiking in my Merrell's, the Vapor Glove,
Yeah, the vapor
like,
glove. Yeah, the vapor glove is basically like putting a plastic bag around your foot.
yeah, it's like wearing a sock, right? I am feeling every stone I walk over. It's not that you don't feel it. I just think it's great for your feet. It's better for you.
Yeah, it
Um,
massages them too, which is
Yeah, and
nice.
it's not the only thing I wear. I wear that they have the trail glove, right? Which is
I like that
like
one better.
half minimal. I love those. I wear those. Like when we went on our trip in June to Europe, I wore the trail glove 75 to 80% of the time, not the vapor glove. Because we're walking 25,000 steps a day. I'm gonna
Yeah.
kind of be nice to my feet.
Oh, and it's concrete, so it doesn't absorb as much shock. It doesn't bounce back.
No, concrete is just awful,
Yeah,
awful.
yeah.
Um,
So it's nice to have a little bit of. That's why I like the fluxes for walking around New York. You know what I mean?
Totally. No, and I'm excited for
Yeah, check them
fall.
out. Check them out because they have a little massage pad like on the. They're cool and they look nice for what
Yeah,
it's.
I actually like the way Merrell's look. The trail glove looks better than the vapor glove. But what I'm
Yeah,
fascinated by is as much as I like my minimal shoes, I'm also really excited for fall so I can start wearing jeans again and wear all the shoes that I own. Like I have tons of shoes that aren't minimal and I love them. I like wearing shoes. So it all goes for what it is. But back to kettlebells and working out, it's barefoot or minimal is just so key to me in what you said about it's all about the big toe. Like everything has to drive through the big toe. Like that action of standing up at the end of the kettlebell. And like I said, those are the two parts of it that I think are best. That swinging the leg back
yeah,
and and that coming up to stand. And I can it's just a like I teach them now in my yoga classes, right? In my online yoga classes.
mm,
And it's really great because a lot of the people in these classes are not fit and they're older, they're less mobile. And I ask for feedback, especially when I introduce something new. We've been doing crawling stuff and a lot of squatting, crazy squats where you squat and tap your knees to the floor, and those are not easy. Um, so I asked for feedback, and almost
yeah.
everybody's feedback was, I hated the kettlebell when you first started, and now I've grown to really like it. And that,
You mean the Turkish get up, right? The yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
we don't do any, no, so we do squats, right? So I'll do like a long hold squat. I've been doing these 2-minute squats, and then these squatting exercises where you're squatting in wide feet and touching the knee to the opposite knee to the
yeah.
floor, where the heel comes up. And I do feet together, heel lifts, and then squat like that. And then I'll
Right.
say we're going to do a set of 10 squats with wide feet. And if you want, grab a weight, or I've gotten them all to buy stuff, right? So they all have a kettlebell or a weight, and I'll say pick up a weight instead of just doing the regular squat. And then we'll do goblet squats. And I think goblet squats are a great exercise. And I'll do those with the 30. And some of them are doing them with 5, some of them with 15s.
Oh,
But what
definitely.
I love feedback wise is these people signed up for yoga and they definitely have a resistance in the beginning, but their feedback is always like, oh, I didn't like it at first, and now I'm really liking it. So that kind of, makes me happy.
I
But
think when people realize like that building strength makes you strong, they're like
totally.
they're like this is dope. Like, oh, I couldn't pick up my kid because I have a tendonitis or whatever, and now I can. And he's actually, or she, he or she is bigger. And I have a client who I just, one of my coworkers left, so I inherited hers from him basically. And she was like, in the beginning I came here and I signed up with a trainer because I wanted to lose weight. She's really tall. She was overweight, so she's like, but now I don't really care about the weight as much as I just want to get strong. I want
Right.
to continue to get stronger, and so and it's exciting to see because I actually don't think you're like in your 50s, it's really hard to lose weight, and it's going to take a lot of nutritional what?
Trust me, I'm 61. It is not easy to lose weight.
Yeah, I mean it's all like you have to deprive yourself of all this fun stuff that you can eat, right? So there's that. You have to do all this exercising, lots of cardio. Cardio eats up in muscle. So if you want to build muscle and you're doing cardio, you got to do a lot of working out, right? And then really try to track your nutrition, which I don't fucking want to do that, to be honest. And I'm not sure that other people are into it, but it's just like it takes a lot of effort. And my clients, I don't want to be like militaristic with them. And I say, look, if you can write down what you're eating, then we can look at it and we can kind of adapt, whatever. But if you don't want to do that, just make intelligent choices. Don't have a pint of ice cream at night if you want to lose weight. If you don't want to lose weight, all the power to you, man. Ice cream tastes awesome.
Dude,
It's really pleasurable. So it's like, but my point is like I've had probably two or three clients say, you know what, losing weight is now my secondary goal, and my primary goal is to get strong.
I love
I think
that.
that's I think that's kind of phenomenal, to be
No,
honest.
I love that. So I have definitely gained some weight over the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
I stopped smoking weed a couple of years ago,
Oh, good for you.
and believe it or not, I gained a ton. Most people would think, oh, you stopped getting the munchies. I actually gained a lot of weight after I stopped smoking because whether it's oral fixation and, putting on weight, but I put on a bunch of weight. So it's like a little less than 2 months ago, I stopped eating sugar. So I have not had sugar other than like, a teaspoon or a tablespoon that I in a recipe, right? I haven't
Right.
had sugar in I think 7, maybe 8 weeks now.
Oh, that's cool.
Uh
That's a
I
really good way.
What's that?
That's a really good way to lose weight.
Yeah, not for me, right?
Oh
So
shit.
I eat 2 meals a day. That's it, right?
Mm-hmm.
No breakfast. I'm finished eating by 8 p.m. I have like fruit for my dessert, like watermelon or grapes or whatever. I have not lost any weight. It
Oh, that's
is,
interesting.
and dude, I work out, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm doing yoga, I'm doing my kettlebells, I'm working on inversions lately. I haven't been able to bike for like 6 days. So this afternoon I get to bike because it's been pouring here,
Oh
kind
yeah.
of related, I guess, to the hurricane. I have not lost any weight.
Well,
And
I have a friend who quit sugar. Not to sorry to interrupt, but he quit sugar because he has a pre-diabetic, and it took a while for him, but he's like, yeah, I've lost a bunch of weight. The problem is he's also lost muscle mass, so now he's asking me all about supplements and stuff, but that's a whole another maybe episode. And it took a while. It was like
yeah, no, I'll admit I'm frustrated. And I have no intention of starting to eat sugar again. I'm actually loving, my son eats nothing but garbage and I provide it to him. Like, so,
yeah,
right now in the house, there's ice cream and Oreos and Nutter Butters and all these things that I love.
you're an
And I'm just not
enabler.
eating it. You know what I mean? Once I get my willpower in line, um, it's easy not to. I was listening to a podcast this morning about it was a bodybuilder, or like a competitive bodybuilder, and
Hmm.
he was just talking about discipline and like you get addicted to the bodybuilding and which really resonated with me because he goes, look, if I miss the gym for 5 days, I'm freaking out. And I can tell like my nervous system from not biking for 6 days is not happy, right? Like I am locked into biking. I'll bike 7 days a week if I can. I feel like I actually think biking is kind of garbage exercise. but it's my favorite thing on earth. But I don't find it to be difficult. I don't bike huge hills. I bike 10 miles or 20 miles. So I don't mind biking 7 days a week. Like I don't feel like I need to take a day off for recovery or whatever.
Sure.
But not biking for 6 days, I can't believe how like, and I'm still exercising. I'm still doing the get ups but I really have come to just love biking so much. But I am of the belief that exercise does not help you lose weight, nor should you think it's going to. It's a component, right? But in truth, the only thing that's going to make you lose weight is not eating more than 2,000 calories a day, right? Like
Yeah.
calorie in, calorie out. If you want to lose weight, and that's why I stopped the sugar, right? I
Yeah.
was eating less, but still having dessert, and I love ice cream, and because it is good, and but I'm still having trouble losing weight, and it's making me nuts.
I think
But
it's I also think people think of losing weight as losing weight, but I like to think of losing weight as body recomposition, right? So you might be putting on more muscle, perhaps. I don't know.
there's no question that
And
that I
if you haven't biked in 6 days, like that's a lot of cardio that you're losing. So your heart rate is,
definitely.
you know,
And having, as someone who's done yoga for 30 years now, but never lifted weights, and it's not like I lift like crazy. I just do these dumbbells and the kettlebells, but there's no doubt I've put on muscle.
yeah.
Um, but I still don't have a muscle, you know. Yeah, baby.
I
But
work
no,
out.
I
I
can
work out a
say
lot.
that it's possible that I'm translating some of my fat into muscle, but not as much. It doesn't even out. But that's my
Yeah.
own personal self-loathing and frustration. And hopefully next month when we meet again, it'll be a little
You
different.
gotta give
But
yourself a break, because you're also going into winter. So probably your body is naturally storing fat, right? And so just we'll see how it goes by next month, and you can let me know, and I'll check in with my friend who's quit sugar. But I think the first 2 months he didn't do much, but at the end it was like at the end of 6, he's like, yeah, I've lost a ton of weight now, um,
I feel so much better,
yeah,
like.
yeah, I think
There's
that's
just no question. What's really interesting is I am not sleeping great. Like I go into these patterns where I wake up like every hour and a half every night. And
that's
it's
not
not to pee. I just wake up and I go back to sleep. And it's also making me crazy, but I'm having crazy dreams, which means I'm hitting REM sleep, like you don't really you dream in REM sleep. So I'm it's like I'm going through a cycle, hitting deep sleep but then I'm waking up, going back and do it again, and I don't feel tired, but I'm not sleeping well. It's making me, in my version of well, it's making me absolutely nuts. And I thought part of the reason why I stopped the sugar and dessert at night was I thought that was affecting my sleep. Um, but so far that hasn't played out. So it's interesting. I'm doing a sleep workshop this Sunday, which I'm excited about. I'm so sleep obsessed. Maybe that's why I don't sleep.
are you are you giving a workshop, or you're
Yeah,
following?
Sunday morning.
um Yeah, my sleep is when the seasons change, my sleep has a tendency to be affected. So it could be
How
that.
many hours do you get a night?
7 or 8, between 6 and 8, basically.
Killer. That's just great. So I
Sometimes,
used to get up at
sometimes
six.
I'll end up at 4 or 5, but it's unusual these
I
days.
used to wake up every morning at 6,
Yeah.
and now I get up 7:30. I forced myself to stay in bed longer and sleep later, and I feel that has served me so well, like so well.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely helpful to sleep more, because I remember you saying you were fine when you slept 6 hours, but clearly,
Yeah, no. So I'd say I'm getting 7 now,
yeah,
and
that's really, you want to be between 7 and 8, right?
yeah, totally. Totally. No, it's crazy because I feel great on so many levels. No sugar, no weed, sleeping an extra hour. My son, he goes to high school. he goes to school and falls asleep in his first two periods because he just doesn't get enough sleep.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
he should
yeah.
be getting 9 or 10 hours of sleep, if not more. He's a teenager, and
Dash is the same. My son is the same way, right? He gets 8 to 8.5 now, and he probably needs a little more because he's
oh
also
yeah, teenagers need 10 hours or more. And my son, like Dash, is a hardcore athlete. My son is he's running 5 miles a day. I mean, I think they run too much. His cross country, they run 6 days a week, which I was shocked. I was like, really? Like it's a
yeah.
lot.
That's what I
Uh,
used to do.
it's weird because for hockey, ice is at such a premium, they can't practice that much.
Right.
But between the two sports, he needs more. He needs 12 hours of sleep. You know what I mean? Like, and then the way he eats, it's fat, and he never runs out of energy, which I am like, how are you still going?
No,
But he's amazing. So, and we're terrible parents, right? We don't control his phone or his Xbox, so he's
you're
free
not
to do
terrible
what he
parents.
wants.
There's he's 16, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, you can't. There's only so much you can do. You know what
we
I'm saying?
never have, which by design. And now he has a car, and it's like we don't even see him. It's incredible.
Oh, he has a car.
He was
Wow.
given a car. Caitlin has an aunt who gave him a car, a 2002 Honda Civic with 10,000 miles on it.
10,000.
Yeah,
That's a good deal.
it's so great. We just took it into the
That car
deal.
can last him for like 25 years.
Oh, it's amazing. So we took it to a mechanic to get it on the road. It needed tires and stuff like I needed brakes and tires. And but then there was a recall, so we took it to the dealer. And it was just this morning. We're going to pick it up this afternoon. They were like, this car has never been driven. Like it's just wild. Yeah, that car will last him through college and beyond.
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
Just regular oil changes.
it's great.
That's
It's
all
really,
it is.
but
Regular
yeah, we
maintenance.
don't see him anymore. It's amazing.
But yeah, I mean, my son is the same, right? He lifts now because he's trying to get big.
Right.
So he lifts like an hour probably every day, right? Alternating muscles, obviously. And then he's probably in the gym shooting and playing doing drills and playing scrimmages 2 hours a day.
Such a beautiful thing. What's
I
funny
breathe
about
that.
my
I
son,
He's like yesterday, he's like, yeah, Saturday night. I'm like, what are you gonna do? He's like, yeah, we're gonna hit the gym with like a couple of my teammates, and then he's like, I put up 600 shots.
great. What? Here's
That's how you do it. That's the Kobe way, you know.
two things that are interesting. One, it's funny for my son. He went from because he's super skinny. He went from being in the bottom third of strength in terms of weightlifting in the hockey team, but then when he started running cross country, he's in the top third
Oh,
on the
that's
cross country team.
oh, I
Uh,
see. Yeah, that makes
yeah,
sense.
but I just read a study that child athletes age less well than people who don't do competitive sports as a kid, which is
Oh, is
really,
that,
my son's he's a three-sport kid and he doesn't get injured badly, but you look at it and you go, oh, that's so interesting. Like I would have thought that the more you do when you're young, the better it's going to go. And they say that, the study was really like when you put your body through certain paces,
oh
it's
yeah.
not always for the best. So it's just really interesting.
I mean, it depends what you're doing, I suppose. But if you're playing basketball or hockey, basketball is a lot of cutting. It's terrible on your joints. Hockey
Yeah.
is like you're just getting banged up all the time. There's a lot of cutting in there too, right? All these
And
sports,
I
like,
mean,
all right,
basketball, you're getting banged up more than most people realize, I think.
yeah, that's facts actually, especially for a kid who's like my guy is really tall, as you know, so he just gets beat up under the basket because people just, he doesn't play with kids his size much. He's because he's just started playing, so even kids who are like 6'4", 6'5", were used to being in the dominant on they like this kid comes in, he's 6'9". They're like, well, the only way to stop him is just to like basically punch him in the face.
That's it.
That
No,
happens, especially
no,
when,
and through it all, I'm just really glad he's not playing football.
yeah,
Uh,
me too, bro. I gotta say, like that is. I just said bro, like in conversation. I'm really trying not to do it, but it just catches me sometimes. No, I mean football is rough, man.
And yet I still watch it. I can't believe it. Like, it's so objectively bad for the body and the brain, and yet I still watch it. Like I love to watch it. It's such a weird thing. Um, and hockey this is not the same thing. Guys get concussions in hockey plenty, but nothing like football, like
Yeah.
it's so wild.
And you watch a football game, I mean, it's like, hockey, you get concussions because you get slammed against the boards, right? But in football, it's like you're jumping over guys and then landing on your fucking head. I mean, it's,
Every play is like a car
really
accident.
intense.
Yeah, no, it's wild. All right, so we digressed a bunch from
We digress so
kettlebells,
much, man.
and
We're like not talking about kettlebells at all.
it's all
No, but
good.
I mean, I think we can go back to kettlebells and discuss. I don't think we digressed crazy. I mean, the whole idea is, we wanted to talk about kettlebells, and you're I think it's probably a shared obsession of kettlebells now because I've become really interested in them, and I would really like to do a certification. And there's several you can do of varying um, validity, I would say. And I think swings can be really powerful. I think Turkish get-ups are really powerful. I think you can do windmills. Kettlebell windmills are really good exercises too, and that's
Wait, what's a kettlebell windmill?
it's like a similar
Kettlebell.
exercise to what you do when I was showing you about that hip hinge in the Turkish get-up. So I'll do it with a 35, even though it's probably not the most recommended. You bring your arm up above your head, right? And then you're gonna bend the opposite leg, so your left leg, and you'll reach in and turn your
Oh,
chest,
wow.
you'll turn your hand. So it's a shoulder stability, hip hinge. It's harder than 35, I'm not gonna lie.
Wow.
And you get some core in there, obviously, and then your hamstring, the hamstring flexibility, I guess.
So that was great. That I'm adding that in, that's for sure.
Yeah, I could, I could, I
So
could, I could send you like a. I mean, you saw what I did, right? It's like in
totally.
yoga, sometimes you can like be doing a uttanasana with like your leg bent, and you kind of open up like that. Like that's a very Amanda from Prima. She
Yeah, no, I'll tell you another exercise I do that's not the same, but similar, that I think is a great exercise. But your legs are so just for the people listening, not watching, it's your kettlebell, the arm is straight, and then the opposite leg bends and the opposite arm reaches down to touch the floor
That's
to come
correct.
back up. And you stretch the leg straight as you come back up.
Yeah, and you'll
Yeah.
turn your start with your the kettlebell will be, in your hand, much like a Turkish get up. You plug your shoulder in so that your shoulder doesn't waver all over the place, right? That your arm isn't wavering all over the place. You want your arm to be very, very solid, very much punching up to the ceiling. And then as you as you turn, as you go into the hip hinge and rotating your chest, your hand is going to turn away too. So your bicep is turning away from your ear. Yeah.
Awesome. So it's like a standing get up of a sort.
Yes.
Um,
So when you're doing when you do the hip hinge part of the get up, it's the same thing as that, except it's standing. So you get a little more work in your hamstrings.
yeah, that's really great. I do these
You
things
can go a
called
little deeper into your hip hinge.
standing bird dogs, where you're standing and you lift. I'll show it to you. Because I think this is both gluteus medius, TFL on the lifted leg. So you're standing on the right leg and you lift the left heel up.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and then you want to bend the right knee
Oh
and
yeah.
the left fingers to the right ankle. Then find the big toe and come up and you don't want the left foot to swing back. And so I don't know what, I think that's an exercise. I don't know what it's called. I call it a standing bird dog.
I call it like a one-legged one-legged RDL, Romanian deadlift.
So I love that exercise. And I think it's phenomenal for the gluteus maximus. If you use the big toe to come up, you are doing
Yeah,
great gluteus maximus work. And for me, the difficulty was the lifted shin always wanted to swing behind the standing
yeah,
leg, always. So it took me I've been doing that for years. It took me a couple of months to really isolate that leg and not let it swing. And I feel like that has really helped my glutes. I'm just loose in all of my muscles. Like I don't have a
yeah.
ton of anything going on. That doesn't mean I'm weak. It's just I don't have tension. Um, but I love that exercise. So I'm going to incorporate that kettlebell windmill for sure. I
Yeah, I think
just,
just be careful. Go slow at first. Start with maybe just nothing. Just figure out obviously the movement and the hinging and all that.
yeah, for sure.
The rotation of your chest, that's really important, right? The thoracic rotation. You're basically working on hip hinge, thoracic rotation, shoulder stability, right?
It's great. So
Those
did you
are the
say you have a
three.
video of it? We should put it up in the show notes.
I can that's so there's two different ways of doing it. There's one with your feet. The one I showed you is with your feet parallel. Your feet are always parallel, but the one I showed you is with your feet pointing forward. You can also do it with your feet turned
Oh,
kind
interesting.
of 30 degrees or 45 degrees, I'll say. That's a little bit easier. It's a little different, not a lot. You get a lot more work out of the one I was showing you, and I just discovered that one recently. So it's something you can do also half kneeling. So basically the same way as the part of the get up, the middle part of the get up.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that's
Um,
cool. Oh,
yeah,
so just to go back to the get up, right? What
yeah,
I find that people have the most problem with is standing up through the inner foot.
yeah,
And that I'm trying to say to people, I'm like, you got to move forward, right? It's energetically, you got to go forward to come up. And I find that a lot of people, they go to stand up and they're basically kind of falling backwards. And the weight of the arm, it's not easy, right? But that's the biggest issue I see is that people just that thrust to come up. And to me, especially working with people who are older, like people need to know how to get on the floor and off the floor.
mm,
Right? Like I say, sometimes I'll work with a client and they don't even know it, but I'm just being mean. And I'm like, all right, let's go to the floor and do something. And then now let's come up, stand up and do something. Let's go back to the floor. Let's come stand up just so that I am making them get up and down off the floor a half a dozen times because that's as good of exercise as anything. And as
sure.
we're getting older, man, you got so many people can't get up and down off the floor. So, and I think you see it in that Turkish getup where people have a hard time, even with no weight, like getting that forward thrust to come
Yeah.
up through the inner foot. And to me, like, so incredibly important.
I struggle with it. I usually tell people like try to pull yourself forward rather than pushing off your back leg, right? So you're actually getting to work in your front
Perfect.
leg,
That's exactly right.
and then they're like they get very
No, exactly.
discombobulated. But I'll tell you, I have a 78-year-old client, right?
Great.
She's awesome. She's friggin' cool. And I love her. And the other day we're doing something, she's on the ground. She's like, "Oh, you're gonna make me get up again?" And she got up, and it was like, I was like, Joan, that was amazing. Because she got up without even thinking. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
my parents are 78 years old, and for them to get up off the ground, it's a bit of a project, you know? And
totally.
this woman, she was just like, she didn't, it was like I don't know. She just did it like I would do it,
Yep.
and she's got 26 years on me, and I said, Joan, that was like amazing. She's like, "Oh, what?" I was like, "The way you got up. That was just amazing. Like I just if I can be like you in 26 years, sign me up. I'm on
That's
board."
it. What you want is to take that for granted, like she does. That's what's so great. You know, Dick
Yeah,
Van Dyke, right? Dick Van Dyke is 98 years old.
that's crazy.
And they did a TV special where he's singing and dancing.
Oh, great for him.
It's unbelievable. And I'm like, my parents didn't get out of their 80s and their 80s were horrible. Both of
Yeah,
them passed really poorly. And from 80 to 85 for both, like just really bad. So my dream is to get to 90, right? Because I better outlive my parents. Like that had better happen. But my mother was bedridden for the last 5 years. My father couldn't. He was using a walker and a scooter, and so like my goal, I'm not even thinking 98, right? But 90, and I say I want to be able to wipe my own butt when I'm 90. That's like my goal in life. And it is not going to happen if you don't move the way we move.
no
And then I
question.
finally had to accept, all right, weights are part of the solution. And I
100%.
resisted that. I resisted that for a long time. And now I am totally down with, and it's not like I'm just a bit of a loner. I don't go to the gym. I don't have a culture like that. I work on Zoom, like I'm in my own little bubble, which is fine because I have the motivation for it.
Yeah,
And I'm not like crazy lifting. I don't have a barbell. I'm only using dumbbells and the kettlebells. But I have, it's about like maybe 18 months now, but I've got come to the terms with like weights are part of the solution. And
100%.
we lose muscle mass and you got to put it back or maintain it in some way or another. And uh, I find the kettlebells are fun, right?
Exactly.
They're a different kind of thing than the dumbbell or the barbell. They're like there's something about them that they're fun. They're play. They're like a toy
Yeah.
instead of a weight, which is can be a little more daunting. So
I'll send you there's a woman who's probably in her 70s who does these kettlebell flows on if you've never seen a kettlebell flow, it's really worth checking it out because people like be flipping kettlebells around
oh,
and
that's great.
doing like one-handed you do a one-handed swing and then flip it up in the air and catch it and
Wow.
it's really very cool. And she does these flows and she is like in her backyard and she's got to be like mid 70s, and she's using big bells, like not insignificant weights. And I'll try to find it on Instagram because I lost it because I just deleted. I don't have Instagram anymore, but which is by the way excellent for my brain.
Oh,
And
that's great. So wait, so now I have progressed from the 15-pound weight to 20-pound kettlebell, and now it's a 25-pound kettlebell. I want to get to the 30. That's like my current goal. I don't
yeah,
think I'm that far off. What,
to do a get up.
yeah,
Okay.
what is the ult like? Are there people doing get-ups with 50-pound kettlebells?
Yeah. I have a coworker that was doing one where he hit a 24 kilos, so that's about 52 pounds. Yeah.
Wow.
I can't. I mean, it's intense, but
That's
and we
that's
have
really impressive.
in the gym we have one that's 106 pounds, but nobody uses it.
Wait, a 106-pound kettlebell.
Yeah, but nobody uses it for Turkish get-ups. They're more for swings.
That's like a doorstop. That's what I
It's
would use it
yeah,
for.
it's really heavy.
Uh,
But
wow.
there's a lot of stuff you can do with kettlebells. There's a kettlebell arm bar, which is a really cool kind of thoracic rotation movement as well. Also shoulder stability thing.
Wait,
Um,
not to be too ignorant, but is the 100-pound kettlebell just huge?
yeah, it's big. It's not like that big, but it's probably is, the size of my head, if not bigger.
That's
Um,
wild. I'll tell you, there's a difference. Like my 20-pound kettlebell has a smaller grip.
yeah, it's a small handle.
And I didn't really think about it. So the 25 is the big thick grip, like the 30.
Yeah.
And not that it's bad, but I really like the smaller, thinner grip a
Oh,
lot.
you do. Yeah.
So when you go up in size, does that it? You go up in grip size too? When you go up
Yeah,
in weight?
yeah, generally yes, because they have to. I don't know why actually, but it's just that's just what happens. But there's also there's two types of kettlebells, right? There's like the competition kettlebells and the kettlebells that you have. And the competition kettlebells, you can look at it. I think they call it competition. They just have like a kind of more of a square-ish handle. and all the bells are the same size, but they're different weights. So you can go from like 8,
Oh, that's really cool. That's interesting.
uh, 20, 24, maybe goes up to 32 or 40 in kilos. So it's like whatever.
And another thing about the kettlebell and the Turkish get up that I think is incredible is the wrist and hand strength.
Yeah.
And we all need that. I have one of these things, my little it's that, classic hand gripping thing,
Yeah.
right? $6 on Amazon. Uh and it's the thing, we've had them like our whole life. You saw them growing up, right? The thing you squeeze. I For like last year I gave everyone one for Christmas, and I try to get every one of my clients to get one. These things are great.
Yeah.
Like grip strength, we lose grip strength. I have a lot of my thoughts about hands and feet. I
I,
just bought a new toy. It hasn't come yet, but it's a hand gripper strength thing that's different than that. But people think I'm a little crazy, but I ask everyone, do you cook? They say yes. And I say, do you use cast iron pans? And they say not necessarily. I'm like, only use cast iron. And if you don't have one, go buy one, because a heavy pan is an incredibly passive way to build strength.
sure.
Like if you're cooking regularly for your family and you have to do it every day, and you have to, like, my cast iron pans, I have one really big one. They both hang pretty high up, which means I have to pick it up off the stove and then put it back up on its hook. And I do that always with my right hand, right? I do that always with my weak hand. And the
Yeah.
big one is not easy, right? But that is an exercise unto itself. And I don't think people pay nearly enough attention to how strong their hands and wrists need to be in terms of aging,
I think that's
like,
definitely true. So I got a tip for you.
I like tips.
So I have my crappy kettlebell that I bought at Walmart. The other one is like a legit one. This one
Well,
is,
what can make it crappy? Like, it's just a,
it's just not, the handle is weird. Like it's not as good, you know?
got
That's
it.
okay. You can do your Turkish get up like this.
Oh my God, I can't. I'll try that with the 20. I don't know if I can. That's
Don't do it with
great.
a 20. Start with, you have a 15?
No, I only have a 20.
Oh yeah, then you can. Don't
But
do it.
so I went to like a
Just
gym.
literally, but just literally hold it like this and walk around as well. Or
Oh,
do it
that's just killer.
overhead, you know.
That is killer.
So that's and that
So
you'll
that
feel
is just
your
what
shoulder,
Alex is doing, is
obviously,
holding
but
the kettlebell straight up
oh
instead
yeah,
of letting it
sorry.
sit back on his wrist. So,
It's
um,
called a bottoms up kettlebell.
so
Bottoms
here's the
up
thing, right?
kettlebell
My first kettlebell,
overhead
I
press.
went to a weightlifting place, like a sporting goods place, and I spent like $60 for the 30.
Yeah,
And then that's expensive. So I went online, and the other ones I've gotten are like 20 or 25.
yeah.
It's
Let me
a
see them.
it's a hunk of metal. Like,
Is the same, they're all the same ones?
no, they're different. Like the 30 is export. The 20 is, I don't know, some Star brand, and the 25 is Amazon Basics.
Yeah.
So what could possibly be the difference that I would need to spend? And I'm not, I'm just trying to be, not trying to be dark about it, but like, what could be the difference in a hunk of metal? And why would I need to spend twice the money? That's what I
Sometimes it's
am
like
trying to
about
figure out.
it's about some of them are powder coated, and I'm not really sure. This is completely my educated guess, but is that there's a little bit less. It doesn't like if your hands get sweaty, it doesn't like slide in your hands too much. Because if you start doing like figures, like these things, right? You want to be able to have it.
I get that. I'm a little dubious even about that. Like, I buy so many stupid,
Also, they look nicer if they're powder coated. I think there's
I
that too.
buy stupid,
Aesthetically, they're
I
nicer.
buy body toys all the time. A
Yeah,
client goes, I got this thing for my feet, and I'm gonna go buy it. Um, but so I want to spend as little money as I can on
yeah.
these things. And you go on Amazon, which is evil, but it's where I do most of my shopping. And there's always something half the price with decent reviews.
Yeah.
So with the kettlebells, I was really like, I don't understand what could make the $60 one that much better than the $24 one. But
Does it feel different or not?
no, same. It's a big hunk of metal.
Yeah, I think it might be that, when once I mean I don't do like a ton of like kettlebell flows and stuff like that, but maybe once you start doing flows, maybe there's something about the way it sits in your hand and stuff.
Totally. And that said, the opposite is on shoes. I spend a lot of money.
Yeah, but
Like
that's
shoes,
different.
I'm not buying cheap shoes, right? But on something like that, it's hard for me to understand why I should uh spend more.
I don't
Um,
have I don't have an answer for that, unfortunately.
I will say that is the one of the more annoying things about my barefoot shoes, right? I go through them really quickly.
Yeah.
And they're $100. And then, I don't get more than one season out of them at all. And, most of my like adult shoes, I get 5 years, 6 years before I have to change them out. So
But it's yeah, I mean they're made of that's there's I bought some ultras, so they're zero
yeah,
drop, but they're padded.
yeah,
And I forgot which one I got, the Prodigy Provision or something. And I have there's a guy at the gym who's like shoe obsessed as well. So he's like, you get the provision, you get the provisions, you're not gonna like them. And I was like, I don't know, I feel like they're okay. And he's like, no, you should have gotten the paradigms. And I wore the provisions for a while. And they're super padded. And like, it's weird to not have a drop and have padding. I actually don't like it at all. I'd much rather have like a minimal drop, like a 4 or 5 mil drop. I don't want to have like this crazy ass 12
right.
mil drop, um, but I don't like him at all.
He was right. Did you get the
Yeah, he was right.
paradigms?
I'm gonna tell him when I see him next. But what's that?
Did you get the other ones or not yet?
No, I haven't gotten them because they are like 170 or something. I got the provisions because they were cheaper. They were like 130.
Right. It's that look, I get it, but not to give REI a plug because I'm not happy with REI because they're being mean about their unionizing workers.
Hmm.
But you could buy shoes at REI and return them within a year, used.
Yeah. Maybe I
That's
should
like
see if Brooke if
that's good
Ultra,
customer service.
because I'm really unhappy with them, to be honest. I
All
think
right.
they
So
actually gave me a tendonitis in my at the top of my um um hamstrings.
no, I am so bummed about summer ending for biking. Like Cleveland is a windy, windy city.
Yeah.
Like 15 miles an hour is like what my usual ride is, 15-mile-an-hour wind. That's fierce, 60
Yeah, that's
degrees
intense.
feels like 50. It's like freezing.
Yeah.
And so I'm bummed about that, but I'm really excited about breaking out my Echo boots and my shoes and starting to wear clothes again. And
You're fine. I
but
am not excited about that at all. I'm very happy with summer.
yeah,
As
me
as
too,
little as
man.
possible.
My wife can't believe it. Like it can't be too hot for me to ride. To live, I'm not so interested in hanging out in 90-degree weather, but
Yeah.
to ride, oh my God.
I don't mind it at all.
It cannot be too hot. It makes me so happy to just pour freaking sweat and oh man.
Yeah, when you're riding, you have like a little bit of wind, so you're not even that hot.
I love riding so much. I'm doing a riding workshop on in October, the first one. Um, though I don't have a lot to say. There's not a ton of riding technique out there in a lot of ways. Um, but I'll figure out stuff to say.
There's some.
Uh, yeah, I love my bike, and I don't have a good bike. It's a low end Cannondale, but man, it makes me happy. So I'm very excited later on this afternoon. I'm gonna get my son's car. I'm gonna go ride for the first time in 6 days. Life is good. So on that note, Alex, I gotta take off.
Yeah, me too.
Always a
I'm
pleasure.
really glad that I missed you, man.
Yeah, me too.
I'm
I'm
really
with
glad
you.
we got this together. I'm gonna try to post it by tomorrow. Although it might take me an extra day because I just want to go through it. But if you guys have liked what you've heard and would like us to continue, please let us know. You can write at, is it info at
Info at Core Walking. I get a lot of
info?
great feedback.
Oh, good. Info at CoreWalking.com. Let us know if you have any questions, if there's a topic you'd like us to cover. And also, if you think of it and if have time, or please leave us a rating or a review on whatever platform you're using to listen to your podcasts. I mean, usually a lot of it is Apple Podcasts, but whatever platform you're using, just yeah, we'd be really grateful for a rating and a review. In the meantime, until we speak again, which hopefully will be not too not too what's the word I'm sooner than like the last time we did this. I wish you all the best in your writing and everything.
Thank you so much, Alex. Great seeing you.
I'm a little tired today.
All good. Yeah, I did a full weekend of teacher training that kind of wipes me out.
Oh yeah. Well, you did great considering that. I didn't do much this weekend, so.
All right, good seeing you. Thanks
Good to see
everyone
you
for
too.
listening, and see you soon.
Thanks everyone. Take care.
Take care.